Anne usually walked to work. A flash of orange moved silently between the hedges. Kathrine watched her from the shadows. She had been following Anne for several minutes, and for someone who considered herself an expert at remaining unseen, she was about to discover that Anne was much more observant than she appeared. The veterinary clinic was only a few blocks away, and most mornings the walk gave her a chance to clear her head before the day began. But today, something felt different. She couldn't quite explain it. A faint prickle crawled up the back of her neck, the same quiet warning her instincts gave her whenever an anxious dog was about to bite, or a frightened cat was preparing to leap. Anne slowed her pace. Someone was following her. She kept walking for another few steps before casually reaching into her purse, pretending to search for something. Then, without turning completely around, she glanced over her shoulder. Nothing. Just the quiet sidewalk behind her. Anne frowns. Then she saw it. A flash of orange fur, a tail disappearing behind a hedge. Anne stopped.
Seriously?
Kathrine remained perfectly still in the hedge. She had not expected Anne to notice her. For someone who appeared so ordinary, Anne's instincts were remarkably sharp. Kathrine waited until Anne had turned away before carefully slipping out of the bushes.
That was close.
She kept her distance this time, far enough behind Anne that she wouldn't attract attention, but close enough to keep track of where she was going. Cosmo had asked her to find out where Anne's strange connection to magic was coming from. Kathrine couldn't sense magic the way he could, but she could follow a trail. The turns, the crosswalks, the side streets, the places where Anne slowed or changed direction. She would remember the route and bring Cosmo back later.
Assuming I don't get caught again.
Ahead of her, Anne walked quietly, her thoughts returning to the previous night's dinner. Cosmo had been nervous, too nervous. Whenever Bruce pressed him with questions, his answers became careful and measured. His pauses lasted just a little too long. And then there was that cat. Cat had watched everyone at that dinner with an intelligence that was almost unsettling. Anne couldn't shake the feeling that she had been watching her right back. Something wasn't adding up. Cosmo wasn't telling them everything, and Anne wasn't sure whether she wanted to discover what he was hiding or whether she was afraid of what she might find. Anne let out a slow breath and allowed her feet to carry her toward the park she loved. The familiar sight of the towering trees and the quiet pond brought a small smile to her face. Painted turtles basked on a sunlit log, while ducks drifted lazily across the water. Every so often, a heron appeared among the reeds, standing perfectly still, as though it belonged to another time. This place had always felt different to Anne. A sanctuary, where the noise of the world seemed to fade away. On difficult days at the clinic, she would often stop here after work, sit on one of the benches, and simply let the quiet settle around her. It grounded her, restored her. She had always known why this place felt so powerful to her. Or rather, she knew the story her mother had told her. Back then, Anne had dismissed it as family folklore, the kind of mystical exaggeration every Irish family seemed to carry with them. Still, the memory came back vividly. Anne could almost see their old kitchen again. Warm lamplight filled the room, while rain rattled softly against the window. Her mother sat at the kitchen table with a cup of evening tea.
Anne, you come from a line of druids.
Her mother's voice had been gentle, but certain.
Your great-grandmother Aoife was called a wise woman in her village. She felt the earth's energy, the way others feel weather on their skin.
Anne had listened closely, her small hands wrapped around a mug of cocoa.
Ley lines, currents beneath our feet. Where they meet, the world grows stronger. And our family has always been attuned to that.
As a child, Anne had listened because children always listen when stories sound like secrets. But even then, she had quietly filed it away as a myth. Her mother was a storyteller. Of course, she had embellished their family history. Over the years, the stories continued. Her mother spoke of intuition, healing, harmony with nature, and she always ended with the same warning.
It's not a gift, Anne. It's a responsibility. The world feels calmer around you for a reason. Use that wisely.
Anne had smiled, nodded, and assumed it was simply her mother's poetic way of describing empathy. A pretty fable. But now, standing beneath those ancient trees, feeling something she could not explain moving beneath her feet, the old stories didn't feel quite so fanciful anymore. At the veterinary clinic, her co-workers had always joked that she had a magic touch. Skittish dogs calmed beneath her hand. Frightened cats settled in her lap as though they had forgotten what fear was. Anne had always insisted she was simply good with animals. But now she wondered, what if it wasn't just that? Anne stood beneath the trees, remembering her mother's words. For the first time, she wondered if those stories had been more than stories. Elsewhere, thousands of miles away, something changed. The ring on his finger grew warm. He stopped what he was doing and looked down. For a moment, there was only silence. Then the faint glow returned. His expression hardened with recognition. He looked upwards. "What have you found?"
If you want to see where these roads lead, make sure to subscribe. There's more to this story than they were ever meant to uncover.